So yeah, white supremacy. What a what a lame ideology. What a bad no, sorry. What a bad ideology. What a stupid ideology. White supremacy. But here's the thing. It's only stupid to me because of where I stand. And I have a different I have the grace, the God-given grace to have the perspective that I do. It is because of the grace of God that I have the perspective that I do that lets me know that white supremacy is really stupid. It's only because, I wouldn't say only because, but I owe a big part of my awareness of what's going on in the United States to the fact that I was able to leave the United States. Not a lot of people were able to do that. Not just once, not just twice, not just 3 times, but at least 4 times. Well, 5 times. A bunch of times, right? I've left the United States a bunch of times and lived, and not just left the United States, I've lived in other countries for a long time, other than the United States. So I mean, like, not a lot of people are that lucky, right? I mean, okay, and here's the thing: people will say, whatever. I was in the military. Well, there you are, dude. You were in the military. You were not there as a human being. You were not there. You were not there as a human being. You were there as as extension of government policy. So if you say I've been overseas, I have perspective. Yeah, that's true. But also remember that your perspective is from the military, and it wasn't like you were there just because you were there for a specific job. I mean, I'm not saying that you can't. I mean, there's also like parts of the military that are all about cultural, outreach and stuff like that. Don't get me wrong, but of course, there's always exceptions. But in general, just because you served overseas doesn't, and that does give you some perspective, but not what not what I'm talking about. But I'm lucky. I'm super lucky to have that perspective. And that's why I'm able to like easily like see all the Nazis running around. But so here, I'm gonna tell the story again, anyways, on Sunday. So I have this uncle. I have this uncle. I've known him all my life since I was a little kid, right? And he is a redneck. He is redneck. Like, I know about Elvis because of him. like like he had like literally had a velvet like Elvis thing, like stuff hanging up. It was wild. And he was yeah, he's all about that NASCAR racing stuff. And hell yeah, he is 100%, 1000% pro Trump. So obviously we're not friends on Facebook. But is he 100% pro Trump because he's a racist? Probably. But it's not because You can't say he's racist because he's a redneck. You can't say that. You can't say that. There's nothing inherently racist about being redneck. Redneck culture is like NASCAR. It's like, I don't know, it's like redneck culture. I don't know. But it's not inherently racist stuff is racist. That's what's racist. Redneck is not necessarily racist. It's redneck. Monster trucks, like bass fishing. I don't know. Catfishing. I don't know. Catfish. In muddy like rivers. I don't know. Right. I don't know what is redneck culture, but country music. It's not necessarily racist. There's, of course, you can go. Of course, there's racist elements. There's racist elements in everything. That's the nature of racism. It infects things. So of course you can find it if you look for it, but it's not inherently necessarily racist. So I have this uncle who, yeah, he's racist. He taught me about redneck culture. He right, but he's also totally racist. and and I'm like, how do I talk to this guy? How do I and then that's when I started like kind of understanding that his deal is like the Truman Show. Have you ever seen the movie The Truman Show with Jim Carrey? I'm going to ruin it for you. So if you want to not have spoilers, like stop listening to me. I'm going to tell you right now all about that movie. So if you don't want to hear about the movie Truman Show, go watch it. It's a great movie. Then you can come back and watch me because, it's a really cool movie. It's really great. So fair warning. I've given you all the spoiler warning I can give you. So there it is. Okay. So the Truman Show is a story about this baby who is adopted like right after birth by a television studio. And they raise this baby in a television studio in a totally simulated environment the entire time, according to the television studio, what they want. And they would use this baby to sell products. They'd have commercials, but the baby is totally unaware that the baby is being used this way. And so the baby just grows up like in a simulated environment. So over time, the simulated environment gets bigger and bigger and bigger to keep the baby inside. Like, because as the baby grows up, just like a human, the consciousness expands and wants to go past, further and further and further. So the studio engineers a tragedy where the TV father for the studio baby, who's a normal human baby and has no idea they're being gaslit. The baby has no idea they're being gaslit. This father figure, he dies horribly, right? A horrible death while they're boating on a boating trip. Like, does the father really die? No. It's just the studio creating drama. And it was like it was a fake boating accident. It was a fake storm, but it was real trauma inflicted upon the kid, right? The kid really saw his dad drown and die before his eyes. So the kid is super traumatized and refuses to go over water anymore. Will not do it. Will not go over water anymore. Will not pass over the water. So that's convenient for the studio, right? Because the studio now, all the studio has to do is create an environment in which the baby, the child, is surrounded by water. And as long as the child is surrounded by water, they will never ever cross. And you can control the baby now. Now they have this poor kid. The TV studio has this poor kid on an island which is really just a giant TV studio, and every person with whom he interacts is an agent, a studio agent. And the whole purpose of the whole thing is number one, to gaslight the kid so they never realize that they're in a studio set, and number two, to sell products. to sell products about how great life is, you know. Okay. So I just need to put the beds down. And then the water in. Let me get the water going. Let me tell the story. Let me finish the story before I get distracted. Okay. So time goes on, so the way I look at it is my uncle and white Americans in general, white men in general, basically saw their fathers go overseas and die. So then they never want to, so they never ever want to leave their country, the USA. USA is a giant television studio. It's a giant television studio here. I'm not kidding you. It's a giant television studio here. And all the people here are gaslit into believing stuff. And as long as they never ever leave the studio, they will never ever question the thing that they've been told. And if you try to tell them differently, in the here, if you try to wake people up and tell them, hey dude, you're on a television studio set and they're gaslighting you. If you try to tell them, agents will morph out of nowhere and attack you. So, the movie Truman Show, right? Eventually, Truman, being the true man that he is, his consciousness is always being poked in the head. It's like a splinter in his mind. There's always something wrong, something off, something not right. So eventually, he starts thinking, like, maybe I should go on a trip. Maybe I should get out of here. He starts testing it, right? He starts testing his suspicions. And he keeps finding out that things are not as they appear. So Truman is now, his consciousness expanding more and more. The agents all around him are freaking out, and they're trying to find ways to manipulate him to stay to stay on the island, to stay in the bubble. So they engineer all sorts of crazy stuff. They engineer the return of his dead father. They engineer the return of his dead father. And yeah, right. All in an attempt to manipulate Truman to not leave the island. But he's like, no, I'm still gonna go out, take this trip to leave the island. So now even more and more absurd stuff starts happening. Like now it's like, oh, now you can't take planes anymore. Oh, there's a big storm. All the airports are shut down. Sorry, Truman, you can't take a plane trip. You can't do it. Sorry. So Truman's like, all right, well, I'm just going to drive over the bridge. There's a huge bridge over water that Truman used to be afraid of because the water, right? But now he's like, I don't care. I'm going to do it anyways. So Truman hijacks a car, does something totally irrational. Normally, he's supposed to report to work at the same time, the same place. So he's very, very predictable. So if he's very predictable, it's easy to construct a fake world around him, right? If it's predictable. You can make programming around him if he's predictable. But Truman starts acting unpredictable. And the more he acts unpredictable, the more the bubble starts to pop. So Truman very bravely decides he wants to drive over the bridge. Well, out of nowhere, fire comes up out of nowhere in the middle of the road. What? So he drives through it. And his wife is in the car, who's not really his wife. The wife is an actress who's just acting. She's there to gaslight him even more. she's freaking out because she's trying to maintain the bubble, but she's genuinely terrified of Truman's unpredictable behaviors, and he's getting closer and closer to discovering the truth. So at one point, now he runs into a roadblock of a military roadblock. There's no way Truman's getting around that. There's no way. So Truman's like, all right, fine. And then plus his wife is begging him to go back. Please, Truman, please, let's go back and work this out. Please, Truman, talk to your friend, your best friend. Your dad just came back. Let's go talk to your dad, Truman. Forget about all this stuff. Go back. Forget about it. Forget about it. Forget about it, Truman. Go back. Yeah, so Truman has to go back, right? Military dudes have closed the border. He has to go back. All right. Truman goes back. Then Truman gets on a boat. The thing where his dad died on. The thing where he has the greatest fear of. He doesn't care. He gets on a boat and he starts sailing. So the producer of the TV set knows if Truman keeps going, he's going to reach the edge of the set because the producer just can't make an infinite ocean. Like, it has an edge. The ocean was only there like a moat. You know, they can only make a moat. They can't make a real ocean. So they have to stop Truman from reaching the end. So what do? They make a giant storm, a huge storm, a super scary storm to make Truman go back. But Truman does not want to go back. He will not go back. So he keeps pushing forward. So what do? They make the storm so bad that it capsizes the boat. But what does Truman do? Does he go back? No, he endures. He holds on. And the boat, because they can't kill him, right? If they kill him, everyone watches. The whole world is going to watch the studios kill Truman. So that they can't kill him. They can't murder him. Oh, the whole world watch. So the storm stops. The boat right sides up. Truman climbs back on his boat. And he reaches the edge. And there's a door. And remember, he's on a studio. So the whole world is watching this guy try to wake up from being gaslit his whole life. And he goes to that door, turns the knob, opens it, and he walks through. Working class white Americans who vote and act consistently against their own self-interests because are like Truman. They are gaslit to no end. And whenever they try to come out of their gaslit state, agents materialize to put them back in their place. It takes an extraordinary amount of effort for an individual to escape this prison, this TV set. An extraordinary amount of energy to escape. So yeah, redneck culture is not inherently racist. The racism comes from somewhere else. It comes from outside.